Bonjour and welcome back to the channel of nonsense. The past 3 months of my life have been among the soggiest, and not just because I live in England, where every time you look up you inhale a haddock, or because every Sunday I tried to drown my children in a swimming pool, which I do, but because I've been living with this, the Peugeot 3008. This is my company car from Motorpoint. Go and check out the Motorpoint YouTube channel, subscribe, some more proper car review videos from me. And this has been fantastic. I've done 4,500 miles in 3 months in it. And I'm kind of thinking it's a Volkswagen Tiguan with a lot more style. It's just more charming. It cooks with butter and it makes me moist, which is the point I was getting to very slowly. But anyway, it goes back today and I get my next company car, and I'm going to take you along for a quick drive like I did with my Skoda Superb a few months ago to talk about what's gone well, what hasn't, what I've liked, what I haven't, and why it's really surprised me and impressed me. Now, I'm probably not going to film much B-roll because it's snowing down my neck, but let's hop in and go for a drive. Merde, il pleut, il pleut. It is horrible today, so sorry if that intro was through a lens of Vaseline, water and KY. It was just not very nice out there. But anyway, my Peugeot 3008, it's not like the Skoda Superb I had before. That was a long, low estate car with a massive boot. This is a much more traditional family SUV. So you might be thinking, oh, that's a boring choice. It's a bit, nah, why didn't you just get a Tiguan, etc., etc. And I'm going to come on to that. But first of all, let's just talk about the price and the specs, how long I've had it for. I've had this since the very start of December 2022. It's now early mid-March of the following year, and it's going back. I've done 4,400 miles in that time, and to be honest, I've really enjoyed it. The standout feature of this car for me is actually the cabin. It's the cabin, it's the ambience in here. It is very different to what you would get in something, my default choice would be a Tiguan or a Skoda Kodiaq. It just feels more interesting, and maybe it's because I've not lived with a modern Peugeot before. But I was kind of blown away by how it feels in here, and bear in mind, this is a top spec GT line car, and it's got this lovely suede on the doors, and that's lit up by a blue strip here. So at night, this whole grey panel, which stretches across the dash as well, kind of glows blue, and you've got blue strips in the roof as well, in the sunroof. So at night time, you feel like you're in a cool Parisian nightclub trying to get your baguette away. It is just really, really nice. Now, I did say this is a top spec one. The list price on this car is about £38,000, which sounds crazy for a French car, and usually we think French cars are going to be cheaper than German cars, but really not in this case. But as we'll come on to, I think this stands up very, very well against the opposition. This, when I got it, was 2,000 miles. So it had 2,000 miles on it, and the list price was a smidge over £30,000. So it's lost 8 grand in, what, 2,000 miles? So yeah, depreciation is your friend if you're buying one of these nearly new, maybe from Motorpoint, where I work, which sells like nearly new. Anyway, it's not an advert. But anyway, do subscribe to the YouTube channel Motorpoint, because there's loads of cool stuff coming up, and we've got like a proper man pointing the camera at me, and it's great, and it's far more organized than this waffle. But yeah, it's lost 8 grand in 2,000 miles, which makes it a really great choice for second-hand buyers. This one has got the 1.5 litre diesel engine with 130 horsepower, and that is possibly the most forgettable bit of the car, because it's not particularly fast, and it's also not massively economical. It's okay. It says 51 mpg over the past 4,000 miles, but I don't actually trust the trip because it never really changes. I reset it when I got it, and it's just got stuck on 51 mpg, or 52.2, sorry. And when you fill it up with diesel, it never says you can go more than 497 miles. And it always says 497, it's oddly specific. So I think the trip computer just gets stuck in this car, which is a bit annoying, but I think it gets about 52 mpg, and you'll get about 550 miles to a tank in the real world. But yeah, it's not particularly powerful, and it's not one of those cars that you ever want to put your foot down because it just makes lots of noise and doesn't go very fast. It's got an 8-speed automatic gearbox in this one. That's actually been fine. I've read some complaints about that by snobby motoring journalists who sit there on their toilets doing things over Evo magazine, but this has actually been fine. You just don't notice it. It gets out of the way. It's occasionally a little bit dim-witted, and it slips into 8th gear at motorway speeds, and the engine noise pretty much dies away. But yeah, in terms of what I've done a lot of motorway miles, frankly, for my job, going up to places like Sheffield, Where have I been? Manchester. Long drives, and this has been a really good companion. It's just comfortable. I found out halfway through my ownership that there's a really hidden button down on the seat base which turns on the massage function. And that does lead me on to this car's perhaps biggest failing, although it's not a massive one, is the infotainment system. It is a good infotainment system with the caveat that you need to sit on your driveway for half an hour when you first get it and just go through the menus to work out what is where, because there's some really hidden stuff in there. Peugeot hasn't made it especially usable, and I actually had to Google some fairly basic things. When I got it, it would bong every time there was a speed camera in the nearest county. It was bonging constantly. It was infuriating. It stressed me out. But to turn it off, I had to Google which sub-menu to go into, because there are sub-menus with options, and those options you can't find in any other menu, but you don't know it's an option menu because it's hidden under a rock. So you have to get Tony Robinson from Time Team out to dig up some Roman mosaics, and there you find the option to turn the sodding bong off. But yeah, other than that, the infotainment system is good. It's fast, it's quite sharp, and if you plug in, you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I think, as well. And I've just been using that. Perhaps my favourite thing about the infotainment system is this car's got the upgraded focal hi-fi system, and believe you me, it is proper banging, I think the kids say. I listen to a large range of music, everything from Bruce Springsteen, some rocky stuff, to like some modern EDM stuff, and like modern dance music and all that kind of stuff is amazing. And I've had some proper raves on the way back from filming in this car. It is great. So yeah, I've just found it a really comfortable costing companion. It's not a sporty car to drive. You wouldn't think so. If you looked at it, you think that's a family SUV, and you would be right, but you know, car journalists like to pretend everything should be able to go around the Nürburgring. This can't, it would fall over. It's a little bit roly-poly. It's mostly comfortable. It hasn't got a really soft French ride. It's actually a little bit firm, but again, this is on slightly bigger alloy wheels than most 3008, so that's probably part of the problem. But it's not annoyed me. It's not too noisy at motorway speeds either. It's just that engine, when you do put your foot down, you hear it more than you would want to, but whatever. You're not going to be going full throttle in this unless you take it to Santa Pod and drag race it, in which case, buy a top fuel drag racer, not a Peugeot SUV. Let's get on to the negatives, the things I really have found problematic with this car that you only discover by living with it for a long time, and it's been a winter problem, this. This has not been a great car for winter. It hasn't got heated washer nozzles, which sounds like a massive minor whinge, but in December there were motorway trips where I just couldn't see where I was going because the washer nozzles, which are in the wiper blades, froze at the earliest opportunity. Even if it was about 1 degree, 2 degrees, they would just stop working, and then you can clear the windscreen and you'd have to stop, get a can of de-icer and spray it on the washer blades. Second whinge about this car, the washer fluid reservoir is really small. Like, I would run out of washer fluid every 2 weeks in this, and granted I was doing some big journeys, some proper mucky, salty motorways. You wondered where that was going, didn't you? And I was just putting I was putting tosser fluid in it. I'm leaving that in. I was putting tosser fluid in it every 2 or 3 weeks, which is just silly and annoying and not what you want to be doing. It would always run out, and it doesn't give you a warning when it's low, it doesn't give you a warning when it's running out, it just stops working, and you'll be halfway through your journey unable to see. Third whinge about this car in winter, there's something about the aerodynamics that means the door mirrors and the side windows get filthy instantly, and it's been, again, almost dangerous on the motorway not being able to see for pulling out in lanes and changing lanes. I was having to do a lot of shoulder checks, which you should obviously do anyway, but I was having to rely on them because my mirrors were caked in shite, and I'd have to reach out for the window and go like that on almost every drive, and the windscreen gets really filthy really easily as well. So as a winter car, it's not been massively impressive from a usability point of view, but again, they're minor whinges. They are minor whinges, really. If you do drive through winter, they're major whinges. I should have done that in a major minor key, but anyway. Part of that whole dirtification strategy that Peugeot seems to have with this car is that the front and rear cameras on this car get caked in filth pretty much instantly, and the front camera just, I don't know why they've bothered, it's just on the bluff grille, and it just gets caked in spray. As you can see, I'm just joining the M25, which is Britain's loveliest motorway. It's a big roundabout around London. and it's a mucky day, and that camera is not going to get cleaned. It hasn't got a clever little thing to clean it, and it just gets minging instantly. So yes, another whinge. My final whinge about this car, it's not a massive whinge really, is the boot space. It is, I would say, below average for this class. I can't remember the actual literage, I'll stick that up there because I'm clever. It's not as big as a Volkswagen Tiguan. I filmed a Volkswagen Tiguan about 2 months ago, and we do a thing on the Motorpoint YouTube channel, go and subscribe, called the Big Boot Challenge, or the BBC, which can only stand for Big Boot Challenge. And we put 4 suitcases into the boot of the car, and in this, they kind of barely fit. You have to put them the right way round, and there's no room for anything else. Whereas in a Volkswagen Tiguan, they fit really easily. So it is just something to bear in mind. I wouldn't want to have this car if I was doing a big family road trip. I want a bigger car with a bigger boot, like an estate car or a Tiguan. But anyway, those whinges aside, I've been really impressed with my time with the 3008. It's slotted into my life. It is one of those cars that you don't mind getting into on a dark winter's morning, because I've got my heated seats, I've got my massage seats, I've got a good sound system, I've got Apple CarPlay that I have to plug in for, and it's comfortable, reasonably quiet, and really easy to live with. The whole small steering wheel thing, not been a problem. I'm 6'3". I think Peugeot's absolutely nailed the iCockpit thing, that's what they call it, because I can see straight over the steering wheel and I can see the dials really easily. I mean, if I was shorter, I would just move the steering wheel, put the seat up or something. I think test drive before you buy, but for me it's not been a problem whatsoever. It's just been a nice car. It's been a bit of a, it's not bland, I think it's a stylish thing. I like the way it looks on the outside, but just the way it slots into my life so easily is like, you know, having some toast in the morning. It's the car equivalent of toast with marmalade on it. It's comforting, but not particularly exciting. It just looks interesting, whatever. Yes, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to go. Thank you for watching, hope this has been helpful. If you've got any questions, if you're looking at Peugeot 3008, drop them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you, because I love replying to comments, it makes my day. One last whinge, it's just reminded me that active lane keeping is quite aggressive. It will steer for you a lot, so you might want to turn that off. Same on all Peugeots that I've driven so far. But anyway, I'm going to say goodbye to you now from my grey suede dungeon of French pornography, and I shall see you very soon when I won't be in this. I'll be in something that is not an SUV, it'll be German, and it's not a Passat estate, although it's quite similar. So anyway, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Go and subscribe to Motorpoint channel, because it's growing and there's lots of cool stuff going on there. We've got a drone, we're going to film some Alfa Romeos, it's all great. Loving life, and I hope you're well, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.